righty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Robin Giebelhausen, and who are you?
I am Bruce Dalby.
And what do you do?
I teach here at the University of New Mexico along with you. I'm one of the music ed professors.
How do you and I know one another?
Well, we work together. We've been doing that for a few years now. You're the junior music ed person here. I'm the senior music ed person here. And I'm pleased to be able to say that I was the chair of the search committee that brought you here. So I think our search committee did a really great job.
Thank you. Who is one music teacher who has really influenced you and why?
I thought of answering your question as stated, but I've got to put a few in as preliminaries.
Okay.
Because I'm actually very fortunate, I feel, to have some really great music educators in my past that were influential in my development. The first one was my father, who was a very well-known band director in his day. In my graduate work, I was very fortunate to work with two giants of music ed at the University of Illinois. One of them was Charles Leonard, one of our most important sort of founding fathers of modern music education. And then I also rubbed elbows there with Richard Caldwell, who is undoubtedly the person in the world who knows more about music education than anybody. Has read every single dissertation in music education in the entire world. Now, having mentioned those two guys, I've also got to get to Ed Gordon. So Ed Gordon is going to be, I have to put him as number one because, well, and not just because we just lost him 6 days ago. Yeah. He lived a long, full life to 88. But when I was introduced to his ideas, actually in one of Dick Caldwell's classes, I was never one of his students, they just resonated with me. And he's an interesting contrast because he had a laser-like focus on really one thing, namely musicianship. So of course his aptitude tests are unparalleled. Nobody in the future, I'm quite certain, will come close to being his peer. But then of course he also extended into music learning and music teaching. And that resonated with me because it just sort of makes sense that among the many things that we need to be able to do in our crazy business, focusing on musical intelligence itself, and his term audiation, which simply means to think musically, and focusing on that and developing that really needs to be way up there on our priority list. I'd hate to say number one, because there are many things that are important, but his work was very, very, very influential on me.
What's one thing in music education that you think most music educators do really well?
Developing the passion for music. All humans, as we know, are attracted naturally to music. All cultures have it. So of course music teachers have to teach it formally. They have to teach the skills, they have to teach the knowledge. But I think we tend to be wise enough to know that the passion, the social aspects, of course, the interpersonal aspects of making music together are way important. And frankly, probably, I don't know what the percentage of students who come to our program for those reasons, call them somewhat extrinsic, if you will. It's probably a fairly high percentage. And I think that all teachers, even those who are not as brilliant about teaching the art and the skill of music as others, I think all music teachers tend to do a really good job at that kind of stuff.
What's one instrument you wish you could play or you wish you could play better?
The instrument I wish I could play better is my main instrument of trumpet, because I have a love-hate relationship with it. I'm pretty sure it is my instrument. I never took an instrument timbre preference test on the trumpet, but I do love it. But it's a harsh mistress. Sometimes it seems to work, and other times it doesn't. And I spent a lot of time wondering what life would be like if I, instead of playing this hard instrument of trumpet, which takes so much to keep it going and make it work on a consistent basis, if I had instead picked an instrument like, piano, where a chimpanzee can get characteristic tone without any training.
Pianists might take issue with that.
Correct.
What's a historical figure you can identify with?
Music education historical?
Anything's okay.
Okay, I'm going to go broader than that. I'm going to say FDR.
Any particular reason?
Yes, because he did so much for everyday people.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid of identifying that other faction by name.
Right.
And indeed, I really wish that our current president would be so bold as to say about the economic royalists,
Right.
I welcome their scorn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I really like about FDR and how he put into place programs that are of great benefit to average people today. Social Security, especially Medicare,
Yeah.
and more.
Yeah. What's one thing in music education you are currently questioning?
I think we're making progress in recent decades, but I think we need to pay more attention to teaching music musically. I remember being a 7-year-old trumpet player in my first lesson and being given a trumpet and notation and being asked to make sense out of the two at the same time.
Right.
And as I like to say, it's the blah, rest, 2, 3, 4. I won't do that again. So to me, that's not a very musical way of teaching. And it's not, I don't think it's very smart in terms of an important principle that most people in the world of education understand, namely that teaching and learning go best when you teach one thing at a time. And
Right.
so for us to try to teach music, the instrument, in the case of instrumental music, and notation at the same time, of course, does not make much sense.
Yeah. What's one profession other than your own you would like to attempt?
I have no idea. I was fortunate, and I say this to my students quite often, I was fortunate to know what I was going to do. I was going to follow in my father's footsteps from an early age and never wavered. So going out and teach as I approached the end of my undergrad years was indeed a scary, daunting thing, as it is for everybody. But I never questioned whether it was the right thing to do.
What do you wish someone had told you when you first decided to become a music educator?
One of them would definitely be that being hard-nosed is not the way to be successful with middle schoolers.
Or a lot of people.
It doesn't work. It just amounts to fear biting.
Yeah.
And finding a way of being positive and firm, of being the grown-up in the room and yet also understanding the importance of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that for a while.
Okay. What's a piece of music you've been listening to lately?
Because I love effective, simple melodies and tunes. I don't know whether I love tonal or rhythm more. But it's the stuff that I can't quite audiate the details. That's a little bit past my abilities, and I'm no slouch. I keep going back to it. So recently I was listening, and Prokofiev is a favorite composer, whose music is both accessible and romantic. But it's got a complexity to it and an unexpectedness to the melodies and the harmonies that just knocks me out. So recently I go back to Romeo and Juliet and Cinderella and some of his symphonies over and over and over, and can't get enough of them.
What will the title of your biography be?
Yeah, I think you're talking about an epitaph. He knew how to relate to little kids.
That sounds good to me.
And I've never been an elementary music teacher, but just knowing how to relate to little children has always been easy for me since my first sibling younger than me, since my first nephew, niece. And I think that's not a bad thing to have as one's epitaph.
That's a pretty playful one, actually.
Thank you.
Well done.
All right.
But for now, haiku.
My father started me on my musical path.
11 questions.
I couldn't answer that with one person. It was really hard.
No, but I will probably have to.
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Or maybe there just won't be anything else coming up, and that's all you'll have.
Well, then it's not 11 questions, and then
Okay.
the title of the series is a fallacy.
Right.
What will we do?